$74,000, that's what the median household made in 2023. And here's the thing. When you adjust for inflation, that's actually way more than what our parents and grandparents were bringing home back in 1970. So on paper, you should be doing great. You've got the degrees, you've got both of you working, maybe you're even pulling in 6 figures combined. But let's be real for a second. You don't feel rich. You feel like you're drowning. You're stressed about money all the time. One car repair could throw your whole month off. You're like one unexpected expense away from reaching for the credit card again. And you keep asking yourself, how is this even possible? We make good money. Where is it all going? I've been kind of obsessing over this question lately, and I found something that completely changed how I think about it. There are these 2 couples I need to tell you about. I don't know them personally, but their story has been stuck in my head for weeks. Both of them make about $125,000 a year combined. Same city. They actually got married the same year, which is kind of wild. So there's Priya and Andre. They live in this modest 3-bedroom place. Nothing fancy. They drive a Honda and a Mazda that's been paid off for a while. They take one nice vacation a year. And they've got like $187,000 saved up. Then there's Jenna and Marcus. And honestly, from the outside, it looks like they're crushing it. 4-bedroom house in a great school district. They've got a Highlander and a leased BMW. The kitchen is straight out of Pinterest. Marble countertops, the whole thing. But here's what nobody sees. Jenna and Marcus have $2,400 in savings. That's it. And every time something unexpected comes up, they feel physically sick. Same income, same city, same 5 years of working and trying to build something. And somehow there's this $184,600 gap between them. And the thing is, Jenna and Marcus aren't bad with money. They're not being reckless. They did everything you're supposed to do. They got the degrees, they got the careers, they combined their incomes, and they bought the house the bank told them they could afford. And that last part, that's exactly where the trap closed around them. What happened to them actually has a name. It's called the 2-income trap. And if you're in a household where both of you are working, there's a pretty solid chance you're standing right in the middle of it and you don't even know it. I'm going to walk you through how this thing works, who actually set it up, and there's this one calculation that'll tell you pretty much instantly whether you're caught in it. But the third part of this trap, the psychological piece, that's the one that quietly destroys families who genuinely believe they're doing everything right. I'm saving that for the end because I think it's going to hit completely different once you understand the rest. All right, let's get into it. So here's a story we all kind of grew up believing, right? 2 incomes are better than 1. It just makes sense. If one person making $60,000 can support a family, then 2 people making $60,000 each should be able to support that same family and have 60 grand left over to save and invest with. That's just math. Basic addition. Except that's not what happened. Not even close. What actually happened is one of the biggest financial bait and switches in modern history. And the strange part is, almost nobody ever talks about it. Let me take you back to 1970 for a second, because this is where it starts to make sense. Back then, only about 43% of women were in the workforce. Most middle-class families ran on 1 income. And here's what really surprised me when I first learned this, that single income was actually enough. Not barely scraping by. Actually enough. A regular middle-class family with 1 paycheck could buy a median-priced home and spend about 25% of their income on it. They could send their kids to decent public schools. They could handle healthcare and a car and groceries and still put money away for savings. But here's the really important part. They had a backup plan. Think about it. If the breadwinner lost their job or got sick, the other spouse could enter the workforce. That second potential income was just sitting there, like an insurance policy in their back pocket, an emergency reserve they could activate whenever life went sideways. Now, look at where we are today. In over 60% of married couples with kids, both parents are working. We took that backup plan out of the drawer. We used it. We made it the default way of living. So, where did all that extra money go? Housing costs basically doubled when you adjust for inflation. Healthcare spending went up over 600%. And childcare, which wasn't even really a thing back when someone was home, that now costs the average family over $11,000 a year per child. In expensive cities, you're looking at $25,000. Every single dollar of that second income got absorbed, swallowed up by costs that didn't even exist before. So the 2-income family today doesn't have double the security of those 1970s single-income families. They actually have less, because they already burned their backup plan just to cover the basics. This next part is going to change how you see everything. I need you to really follow this. Let's say you and your partner make $125,000 combined. Maybe one of you brings in $75,000 and the other makes $50,000. That feels pretty good, right? But watch what actually happens to that $50,000. Let's trace it. First thing, taxes. And here's the sneaky part. Because of how tax brackets work, that second income doesn't get taxed on its own. It stacks on top of the first income, so it's getting hammered at a higher rate right from the start. Once you factor in federal and state and all the payroll taxes, you're losing like 30 to 35% before you ever see it. So that $50,000 just became $33,000, and nobody's even left the house yet. Now add childcare. Average runs about $15,000 a year per kid. You've got 2 kids? That's $30,000 gone. Your $50,000 income is now contributing about $3,000. $3,000. And we're not done. 2 working parents means 2 commutes. The gas, the maintenance, the parking, the wear and tear. That's another $6,000 to $8,000 just for that second person to get to work and back. And if you need a second car you wouldn't have needed otherwise, add the payment and insurance. But here's the one nobody thinks about, and this is huge. When both of you are exhausted from working all day, you don't have time to cook. You don't have energy to run errands efficiently. All the stuff that used to get handled during the day, it either doesn't happen or you pay someone else to do it. So what happens? DoorDash 3 times a week because who wants to cook at 8 p.m. after commuting for an hour? A house cleaner twice a month. Grabbing coffee and lunch out because mornings are pure chaos. There's actual research on this. Dual income families spend $5,000 to $10,000 more per year on convenient stuff compared to single income families. I call it the exhaustion tax, and it is so real. Let's add this up. $50,000 minus $17,000 in taxes, minus $15,000 for daycare, minus $7,000 for commuting, minus $7,000 for exhaustion spending. You're left with $4,000. Someone is working full-time, missing bedtimes, sitting in traffic, and the household nets $4,000 for the entire year. That's $16 a workday. That's like $2 an hour. But here's where it gets really dangerous, and this is the part that keeps me up at night. Because those gross numbers look so good because you see $125,000 on your tax return, you feel like you should be doing well. So you make decisions like a $125,000 household. You buy the house that 2 incomes can qualify for. You lease the cars that 2 incomes can technically support. The bank runs your numbers and goes, oh yeah, you can totally afford this $400,000 mortgage. And technically, you can. As long as both incomes keep flowing, forever. As long as nobody gets sick, nobody gets laid off, nobody burns out, nobody has to take care of an aging parent. So here's what I want you to do this week. Seriously, actually, do this. Sit down and run this math on your own situation. Add up every single cost that only exists because both of you work. Childcare, the commute, the convenience spending, the second car if you wouldn't need it otherwise. Subtract all of it from that second paycheck. Write down what's actually left. That number might make you want to throw up, but it also might be the thing that saves your whole financial future. This next part is wild, and I need you to hear it. So Elizabeth Warren, before she was ever a senator, back when she was still a Harvard bankruptcy professor, she spent years studying this stuff. Her and her daughter looked at over 2,000 families who had filed for bankruptcy, and what they found honestly shocked me. 2-income families were more likely to go bankrupt than single-income families. I need you to sit with that for a second. Working twice as hard, bringing home 2 paychecks, doing everything the economy tells you to do, and somehow you end up more likely to lose everything. Here's why this happens, and it's so obvious once you see it. That single-income family from 1970, they had a cushion built into their life. If the breadwinner lost their job, the other person could go find work. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. There was a backup. The 2-income family today, they already played that card. Both paychecks are already committed to the monthly bills. There's nothing left in reserve. If either person loses their job or gets sick or can't work for whatever reason, they can't even cover the basics temporarily. Because those basics were designed assuming both incomes would be there, forever. This is exactly why Warren found higher bankruptcy rates. It wasn't because these families were being dumb. It was because they had absolutely zero margin for anything to go wrong. They were running at 100% capacity all the time with nothing left over. It's like driving a car with no oil in the engine. Everything seems fine. The engine runs. You're getting where you need to go. Until one day it just seizes up, and everything breaks at once. The Federal Reserve did this study that found almost 40% of Americans couldn't handle a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. And a ton of those people are in dual-income households making what looks like good money on paper. They're not struggling because they don't earn enough. They're struggling because their expenses grew to swallow every dollar of both paychecks. So now you get the whole picture, right? The expenses swallow the second income. The backup plan gets burned just to stay afloat. Any little disruption sends everything crashing down. But I told you there was a third part, the psychological piece. And honestly, this is the one that really destroys people, even the smart ones, even the ones who think they're winning. Here it is. You're making every major financial decision in your life based on a number that doesn't actually exist. That $125,000 combined income on your tax return? After you subtract what it actually costs to earn that second paycheck, your real spendable money might be like $80,000, maybe $85,000. But you bought a house like you make $125,000. You leased cars like you make $125,000. You signed your kids up for travel, sports, and dance and tutoring like you make $125,000. And now you're completely locked in. You built an entire life that needs both incomes to function, which means neither of you can ever stop. Even if you want to, even if life makes it necessary, even if one of you gets sick or burned out or needs to be home with the kids. That's the real trap. It's not just about money. It's about waking up and realizing you traded away every option you thought you were working toward. So what did Priya and Andre figure out? They designed their whole life so that one income could cover the bills. The second paycheck? That was extra. It went straight into savings, investments, actually building something. Could they survive without it? Yeah, it wouldn't be comfortable, but they'd be fine. They wouldn't lose the house. And after like 7 years of doing this, their investments started generating their own income. Compounding kicked in. And suddenly they had the thing that 2 incomes were supposed to give them all along: actual freedom, real choices, options. You know what? The 2 income trap isn't really about income when you think about it. It's about flexibility. It's about having room to breathe. Having choices. Our grandparents with their single income had something we traded away without even realizing it. They could take a hit. They could change direction. One person could step back if they needed to, and the whole thing didn't collapse. We gave that up for bigger houses and nicer cars and looking like we're successful. But looking successful isn't the same as actually being secure. Cash flow isn't wealth. And 2 incomes aren't better than 1 if they're both already spent before they even show up. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Open your banking app. Add up all your fixed monthly costs. Mortgage, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, everything that leaves automatically. Then ask yourself one honest question. Could we cover this on just 1 income? If the answer is no, that's not something to panic about. It's just information. It's clarity. And clarity is where real change starts. You can't get out of a trap you don't know you're in. Now you know. And that's all for today. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.